I will first present myself. So my name is Wim Vermeer. I'm living in Belgium, and I'm the sales executive for the company Exotec. So it's a robotics company. So to kick off, I would like to give you some insights in how logistics or what is the costing structure in, let's say, a manually operated warehouse. So on this graph, probably you've seen it before, it's very common. So on this graph, you see that the highest costs of fulfillment is coming from the order picking process in your total costing structure. While if you take a little closer look at the costing process itself, you can see that most of the time of an order picking is being occupied just by walking. So there's no added value. So only seeing by this picture, you can clearly understand there's a huge potential in doing something in your order picking process if you want to optimize your processes.
Yeah. So just looking at like when people are thinking about robotics, and you know, it's a big step for a business to go into robotics, and you know, taking a step from having a large workforce and moving towards that. What are you seeing? Obviously, you know, these are pretty compelling numbers on why, you know, with the manual order picking and what happens there. What is the primary reason why people are sort of making those moves?
Well, I would say this is exactly the reason why companies like up till 5 years ago were doing automation, because it's clear you can gain a lot of profit by that. But I would say the last 5 years, there were a lot of new challenges in the market which give you other reasons why to do automation.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to present now. What are the new challenges which force companies to automate, and where this is, let's say, not always reason number one why to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So some new challenges, we all know them. If you're doing your process manually, you will need a lot of workers. So when I first read this quote, it says there will be a need of 44 million people needed into logistics. So that's a huge number. When I first heard it, I couldn't believe it myself. So everybody who has experience in this area, they know indeed it's hard to find the right people. Why? It's working in bad conditions, it's heavy, it's not being that well paid. If you have a worker and they can earn €1 more and another company, they leave while you have invested, you have to do some training with them. So it's very hard to find the right people and to keep them.
Yeah, I was having a discussion with someone yesterday around hospitality in Netherlands, and they were saying how difficult it is to get people on to work now. And I think one of those factors was the fact that COVID came. Obviously, everyone moved from logistics and hospitality into doing jobs where they're working from home. They're getting paid more money. They don't have to, you know, be up at 5 a.m. to get to a warehouse. It has been tough to get people to come back. So, you know, these labour shortages, just to meet what's the future, they're struggling to meet the current. So this is a major issue.
Yeah, it's indeed a major issue. Even when the first slide, when there's not a very good return on investment on the automation, still companies are sometimes forced to go into automation just because of that, because they just don't find the people to do all things manually.
Yeah.
So the most recent years, we've also seen that there's a higher expectation from customer experience. So do we need a delivery the next day when we've ordered? No, but still everybody's doing it. Everybody's already expecting it. It has become the new standard, next day delivery. Of course, when we receive it, we want to receive the right color, the right size. Of course, that's a very normal thing. So also customers are used to having a very wide choice in the SKUs they can choose from. So things are moving quite fast.
Yeah. That's a concern, that 56% actually, because we did a report in 2012 and it was about exactly the same. So in the last 10 years, 11 years, it hasn't impacted it whatsoever. So every company that's out here hasn't been able to impact how people are still feeling around delivery. So yeah, good, definitely something to note. Yeah.
So I found a quote here. It says that Beyonce launched a new album called Lemonade, and apparently within the video clip they make some advertisement for a lemonade, and the sales of that lemonade, it went through the roof. It went up with more than 20%. So this also shows that within the market, future has become very difficult to predict. While in the past you could just look at the past and say okay, every year we're growing by 5%. Probably will do the same the coming next 10 years. Now it's becoming completely different. It can go through the roof and it can also fall back again. So it's very difficult to predict the future. So what effect does it have on your warehouse if you want to have more SKUs accessible in a standard setup? You probably all know it. You will have on the floor, you will have the pick locations. On the top, you will have the bulk locations. But of course, if you want to have more presentations, more SKUs accessible, you will have to bring them down, or you will have to buy a man-up system. But then, of course, your efficiency is definitely going down. So at the end, you will end up with such type of warehouses, and it's becoming a complete mess.
Because the 3PL business, like forward picking and all that, has been obviously a process for a long time in 3PL to sort of meet that sort of demand.
Yeah.
But as you say, the flexibility is not there, is it?
Yeah, indeed.
And you've got limited amount. The SKU ranges are increasing. It's constantly, expectation. And as you note on there, still 62% of people expect delivery within 3 days. Obviously, I live in the UK. I think it's almost next day, if not the day after, some expectations. So you don't have a lot of time to get it wrong. So. Yeah, looking at tech.
And situation is always getting worse and worse because you want to attract more SKUs, but the more you create situations like this where you have to make the SKUs accessible, you don't use the full height of the building, so it's getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
So, an e-com shift, also something we have all experienced during the COVID period. All of a sudden, there's something going on which we don't have under our own control, and everybody shifting. Not everybody, but everybody knows that there has been a huge increase in e-com. So again, one reason why it has become very difficult to predict the future. What is the future going to bring? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
So, what is the answer? It's very clear. Automation, that's clear. But the title of the presentation was why robotics is disruptive. So I'm making a clear distinction between traditional automation, like what we see here, the mini load crane, shuttle technology, and robotics. So there's a clear distinction between those two, and that's why, because of the new challenges from the latest year, I think the robotic solution is much more suited to the future needs. So, if you look at this graph, on the left side we have, let's say, traditional automation, and you can look at it based on performance. So, if you need a system with not that much throughput, you will have mini load systems or mini load like systems. If you need a very high throughput, then you're rather looking at shuttle technology or derivatives from shuttle technology. But there's a clear distinction. If you're also looking at flexibility, then you can clearly see a difference on the right side. Here you can see all different types of robotics solutions. So that's the main differentiator between traditional solutions and robotic solutions. And those robotic solutions, they are the answer to this challenging future we have.
Just show of hands, anyone here got robotics currently in their warehouse?
So there's still a lot of work to do. Oh, one.
We got one down there. There we go. So you got one.
Two.
At the moment.
Two.
You got a captive audience then.
Yeah.
That's good.
So a lot of potential. So to give you an example, of course, there are different types of robotics technologies. I'm from Exotec, so I'm a little bit more focusing on the Exotec system. So if you're interested in buying an automation and you go to a vendor of traditional automation, the first thing they will ask you is, what are you going to do in 10 years? As I just explained, nobody can tell you right now. It's impossible. And why do they ask you this? Because once you have installed it, everything is bolted to the ground, it's fixed. It's very difficult to modify your situation. It's very difficult to make the storage bigger. It's very difficult to change the performance of the system. So while if you have an SkyPod system from Exotec, there are just three main components. You have racks. It's just steel and plastic. There's no electrification in it. Nothing. There are no wires. You have the pick stations and you have the robots. Three components. And with that you can play. Do you need more storage? Very simple. You just add racks. You can do that while the operation is operational. Do you need more flow? You just plug in some robots. You didn't even have to stop the system for 1 second. We're doing it on a daily basis for maintenance reasons. We can even rent your robots for one peak in the year. If you have a Black Friday where all of a sudden once in a year you need to do 20% more flow, you just plug in some robots for 1 month and a month later you give them back. So it's very easy to scale up and scale down again. Do you need more pick stations? Well, there we need to stop the situation, the system 2 times like 1 hour. That's it. So if you would like to try to do this with the shuttle system, I wish you good luck. Impossible. So that is the main differentiator with traditional technology. We don't ask you to invest in what you think you will do in 10 years. We ask you to invest what do you think you will do next year. You invest and you adapt as the world is changing.
So it just in regards to obviously the robots and their capabilities. So when you're looking at product, like how large can these robots do? Like it's a bit hard to get the scale there, but sort of in terms of the pick boxes and that, like is it limited to just, you know, smaller e-commerce products, or can it go to larger as well?
Well, again, I'm speaking only for Exotec SkyPod system.
Yeah, of course.
We only work with one floor dimension, which is 650 millimeters by 450 millimeters. And we have it in a tray where you can put a carton on it. So if you have a supplier and you're working with a lot of cartons like 600 by 400, which is a standard dimension, then you can just put the carton on the tray. Or in another situation, you can also use our trays, which have 3 different heights, 220, 320, and 420. And then you will have a decanting process to fill up the system.
Yeah.
But in terms of SKUs, also there are no limitations. There are also no differences in Pareto distribution. Is it 2080 or 1090 or whatever? It's all very flexible. So in our system, we come to a customer and we say, we don't sell you a robot, we sell you a performance. And why are we the only ones capable of doing that? Because we don't have any ifs in the performance. If you have a shuttle warehouse, they will say from, okay, this is the performance, if this, if this, if this, if this, if this. If one of those parameters is changing, you don't reach the performance anymore. Yep. So this system is completely independent from all these type of parameters. We just tell you, this is the performance, this is the number of total presentations per hour, and that's it, no conditions linked.
Just a question, like obviously at the moment the focus is very much on energy efficiency and power. Obviously having people manually doing things doesn't use power, but it's not necessarily good because you got forklifts, etc. But in terms of this, like what's the power result? What's required in terms of power for an operation like this? Managing all those robots, getting everything around.
Yeah, it clearly uses energy. That's clear. But I think it is on the next slide. Yeah, sustainability. If we're talking about sustainability, we are talking mainly about 2 things. So that's the carbon footprint, and it's very clear that in a robotic situation like ours, you have much less steel in the system, because in a shuttle system you have the shuttles like we do, but we also have elevators and you have masses of conveyors. We don't have any of them, we just have the shuttles. And a second part is also the energy consumption, as you mentioned. It's also becoming a very critical part in your decision process. The energy consumption is about 1/4, you hear it very well, 1/4 of a shuttle warehouse.
Okay.
So it really makes a difference in your energy consumption.
Yeah,
so
that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely huge.
So for those who haven't seen yet a SkyPod system before, I have a movie in the next slide which will give you a closer look on how the system works.
Exotec, a goods-to-person company that gets products from point A to you. We manufacture technology that is fast, elegant, and smart. We put the logic back in logistics. You'll love us because we help you move products faster than you ever thought possible. Your employees will love us because we save them time and energy. We offer the flexibility that you need by scaling to match your growth. We are helping build a different kind of warehouse by delivering smarter fulfillment. Exotec, elegant warehouse robotics.
Yeah, I assume it's finished. Yeah, so that's, yeah, obviously amazing system. Yeah, having been in traditional warehouses all the time, the footprint and the amount you can get in there's substantially more.
Yeah, it's also smaller, yeah.
Yeah,
footprint.
obviously, you know, you're talking about here, whereas, you know, normally you need turning circles and such, so there's obviously a difference. I don't think we can do anything today without talking about AI in some way, shape or form, but you guys already had AI within your system, not all the way through the system. A lot of it's just, you know, obviously automation, but in terms of the AI, I believe the picking tool utilizes that,
yes.
Which was in it.
Yes, so in the movie you also saw at a certain moment a robot picking arm. So he's in the next step is that the operator is being replaced by a robot arm. In that part, indeed, we also use AI to optimize the picking process so that he's every year and year he's getting smarter and smarter, so that who knows, one day we can pick everything.
Yeah, certainly. And your business took quite a large investment 2 years ago, I think it was now.
Well, we have raised like $350 million in the company to make us grow, because we're still a pretty young company.
Yes, yeah.
We have been founded in 2015, but we're already doing like more than 200 million turnover.
Yep.
We are already present in all over the world. We have an office in Japan, in US, in Germany, and France.
Yep.
So we're growing very fast, and that's why we need the money to keep on growing. There's a big demand in the world.
And is there a huge focus in your business on sort of development, R&D still, or is it is it more focused on the actual product side of things? Or?
Of course, the main feature of the robot is the fact that he can move in 3 dimensions, that he can climb into the racks. Yeah. But you have to be aware, just with the robot you don't do anything. The complexity is moving around like 200 robots in one system, moving in 3 dimensions. So the software behind it, I can guarantee you this is the clue. So I think we're investing about 6% of our yearly turnover into R&D, which is huge.
Yeah, no, that is.
And that's what we need to keep ahead of all the competition.
Definitely, definitely. And in terms of what you're seeing, obviously in e-commerce logistics, obviously there's a lot of companies here. There's a few new companies. There's a lot, you know, here consistently just evolving their businesses. Where do you think you fit into this now? Because you've mentioned obviously other automation companies, and 2 years ago you were the only robotics company here. Now there's a few others, but they're all doing different things. Yeah. Where do you see the future going, and what are you guys focusing on if you're talking about partnerships with anyone in this room here?
Well, if you're specifically looking at e-commerce, the beauty of the thing is that e-commerce, the new e-commerce business, they all grow very fast. So for them, it's very difficult to invest a lot of money in automation to do, let's say, big things. So the main feature is buy what you need today, and year by year you can evaluate. If you're still growing, you just keep on investing, because at that moment you also need it, and you will also have payback on it.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Yeah, it's, I guess in terms of questions, that's probably enough. I'd probably throw it to the floor to see if there's any questions that you'd like to ask Wim about robotics in general or Exotec. Anyone? No? Yeah. Wait a sec. Sorry. We got 1 sec. We just have to throw the headphones on, mate. You won't hear it.
Just hear me? Yes? Okay. Try it? No, thanks. Okay, I'm just wondering what's the performance difference between the Exotec and normal shuttle system?
Can you repeat the question for the rest of the room and for me?
Okay.
Sorry.
So the question would be, what would be the difference between your Exotec system and an AutoStore system on a performance basis?
Okay. The difference between the Exotec and AutoStore.
Yes. People often think that an AutoStore system is the most compact system in the world, which you would think it's normal because they don't need any aisles. It's just a block system. But of course, they have a huge limitation in height. I think it's around 5.5 meters or something like that, or maybe it's 6 meters. We can go up to 12 meters. So if we can use the 12 meters, even with the aisles, we are more compact compared to an AutoStore system. Also, in terms of number of robots compared to the floor space we need, we can create much more performance because it's clear in an AutoStore system. Sometimes, if you need a slow mover, you will need to start digging. So you will need to block other piles, and you need a lot of movements which are useless. So for us, every movement we do is a real pick. So in our system, we can create much more flow with a limited number of robots, and we can have much more robots within one system on a certain floor space. And again, a huge difference is that, as I explained before, in most other suppliers, they will tell you this is the performance of the system in condition of, and if you look specifically to an AutoStore system, they are very strong. They have very strong constraints on the Pareto. So all your fast movers need to be on the top of the system and your slow movers need to be on the bottom. But if tomorrow your business is changing and you need to have a lot of more slow movers and less fast movers, then everything is changing. If you also have a system where tomorrow or today a certain SKU can be a high mover, and all of a sudden tomorrow, for one reason or the other, it's becoming a slow mover, then in an AutoStore system, it has a huge impact on performance. While in our system, every single total system is immediately accessible. So we don't need to reshuffle things or whatever. So that is a main differentiator in our system.
Yeah, so you mentioned that, I'm sorry. I don't want to hear myself. So you mentioned there around seasonality. You know, obviously that's a big thing. Yeah. So using one of these other systems, potentially, you know, you're doing a whole refresh of everything over the course. So they've got to literally stop, refresh the system, put all the new stock in, and then start again. It's not a continuous flow like you're mentioning here, is it?
Well, of course, you can decide to take things out and to put new things in, but it won't influence the performance of the system. And that's the main differentiator. In many other systems, not all of them, in many others, you will have a certain influence on the performance if things are changing. An A mover is becoming a C mover because for one reason or the other, you put all the A movers in the front of the racks and C movers in the back or on the bottom, like in an AutoStore. It influences the system. In our system, we don't have any things like A movers and C movers. We don't even look at it. They're all just randomly stored.
Because one of the things, well, obviously when I used to own 3PLs and be involved in that process is you would have a lot of downtime. So you'd be running maybe 12 hours a day, but you'd have 12 hours that could still be utilized, but it'd have different products and different things. You could never run the two operations. You effectively could run two operations at once with something like this, couldn't you?
You can run for 24 hours if you like. So we don't need to reshuffle things or whatever. We have lots of customers working 24
training,
hours.
There's nothing. Yeah, no. Exactly.
No.
Yeah, very good. Another question? Yeah.
How are robots dealing with very fragile goods? I'm in the tableware industry, so there it's always...
Yeah, sorry, you take that.
Oh.
You take that. It'd be better you answer.
So how are robots dealing with very fragile goods? I'm in the tableware industry, so there it's a hot topic, even in a 3PL, that there are not too many, that it's not broken. How are robots dealing with that?
There were moments that you were cut off. Can you repeat the question?
How are the robots dealing with very fragile goods, like tableware?
Okay, yeah. Indeed, that's a problem. We need to move things around. So indeed, if it's too fragile, they have to be protected or whatever. We have one customer in Italy dealing with wine bottles. They have inserts into the totes so that they can put the bottle upright and it cannot fall. But indeed, you have to pay some attention to that. But I would say that's not depending on the technology. It's rather depending on your business. Yeah.
Excellent. Any other questions? Yeah, back corner. Just here, just throw it on.
Oh.
Hello, Antoine Pretin, Geodis. Just a question about innovation. Your SkyPod as maybe 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I don't know exactly. What will be the future of Exotec for the next future years?
So, sorry, is that the focus of Exotec for the next 7 years?
Yep. Concerning innovation, yes.
Yeah.
What is the SkyPod number 2?
Difficult question. Of course, we are making huge projects. We are busy with lots of things, but I cannot reveal them right now.
Where's he work?
I think he knows more.
Yeah, he knows more. There's always one. Yeah.
So I had a question regarding throughput for totes per pick station. How many totes you can deliver per pick station?
Yeah, very, very good question indeed. So if you look at our solution, we calculate the other way around. We say in the system, it may never be the case that the system is the bottleneck. The bottleneck is the operator. So first we ask you, what type of products are you dealing with? Is it textile? Is it something fragile? Do you have to count a lot? So based on all that information, we try to make an estimation from, okay, we think an operator, he can do like, I don't know, 350 lines per hour, just mentioning something. And then based on the 350 lines per hour, it means for us, bring 350 totes per hour to the operator, or a little bit more, because sometimes you will need 2 totes per line. So we do a calculation. So for example, 350 lines per hour is equal to 300 or 400 totes per hour. And that is what we guarantee. So we make sure that we were able to bring 400 totes per hour. But the bottleneck is always the operator. If once it is installed and you see that the operator he can work faster than what you estimated, then you can just decide from, okay, we can even have a higher performance, just plug in some additional robots and he can work faster.
Hi there.
Hi.
How does Exotec interact with traditional warehouse management and shipping solutions?
I'm not clear to understand your question. You mean with WMS or?
So WMS systems, or like shipping systems like label printing, generation for parcels. You know, what happens obviously after it's picked? What happens to get it out the door?
So when we first started the company, our Exotec solution, our SkyPod solution, only had a software layer which was focused on how to manage all the different robots in a three-dimensional space. Now we're already a few years further. We also have another layer, software layer on top of it, which is called a WCS master layer. And that one is, let's say, he's the traffic agent between all the components of a system. So not only the Skype system, but everything related to it. So label, printers, sorters, and whatever. So he's a traffic manager. And for the customer, there's only one connection to the system, and that is with that WCS. And it's done by APIs. Persons who are familiar with it, it's a very common communication technology, and you only have one point of communication, and we have experience with all the major WMS players in the world. So
cool. Any further questions? Yeah, on here. There we go.
Hi, my name is Rudy Karlagerveld. We are in the apparel and footwear business, as you can tell. I have a more general question. Can you say something about when does this become interesting for a company? Can you talk about the number of employees in the warehouse, or number of pieces you process per year, or how can I look at that?
yes, also a very good question. Sometimes I get indeed a request from a company, and then I start analyzing the data, and then I see from, okay, you need like 200 lines per hour. And then I immediately have to say from, okay, this is nothing for us. Why? First, we start with what can an operator on a pick station do as a performance? Usually, the operator, depending on type of products, it's around 300 and 400 lines per hour. So if you don't even get to the 300, 400 lines per hour, you don't need even one pick station for a full day. So you will never get a good return on investment. So I would say this is the bottom line. The work of one operator for, let's say, 2 shifts, because if you calculate in 1 shift, it's also very difficult to have a good return on investment. So 2 shifts, minimum like 400 lines per hour. I would say this is the bottom line. From that moment, you can start thinking about a goods-to-man automation.
Excellent. Probably one more question, just on time now. Yep, in the corner. Thanks. Cheers, Matt.
We've seen picking process. How does it work with your solution? But how about replenishment process? How this is happening with Exxon?
Yeah, so there are indeed 2 types of replenishment. So one of our big customers is Decathlon, and they have a huge, strong influence on how they have to be supplied, and they enforce their suppliers to deliver a large quantity of their goods into totes 600 by 400, or half of it. So what are they able to do in the incoming flow? They just present the pallet, they cut open the plastic foil, and then everything is automated. So we automatically depalletize the pallets, we identify the goods, we cut open by a robot the top layer of the carton, is being merged onto a tray, and it goes into a system. So nobody's doing no manual operations needed for replenishment. If you don't have the case like they do, that you can use a lot of 600 by 400 cartons, then you need to do a decanting process. So indeed, compared to a traditional warehouse, that's an extra activity indeed. So you need to cut open the cartons, and you need to put them into the totes, and there we can have like 1 SKU in a tote, or we can have dividers so that you can put multiple SKUs, and you can also have mixed random, which is also interesting for your return flow, because then often you only get 1 piece of a certain SKU, and then you can just say, okay, I'll group here 10 SKUs, 10 different ones. I throw them in a tote, and in our system, we always start picking from the tote with the lowest quantity. So this means that all the returns you put in your system, those are the ones that will come out first. So if you throw 10 pieces in it, it will be very fast made empty.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, so we'll probably conclude there, unless there's a pressing question. Anyone? No? All good? So
yeah, there's one question.
One more. There we go. Sorry, mate. One last one. You'll have to grab this one. I'll turn it off.
Hi, I'm Philip, and one simple question: is this hall high enough for the system? Isn't it right?
Difficult to say. I don't think it's 12 meters, but
so 12 meters.
Any height can work for us.
Yes.
Of course, the lower the height, the more space you need, but we can go up to 12 meters. So that's the maximum we can do.
And which height is the minimum you ever built and at a customer?
We also have an office in Japan, and in Japan the logistic buildings are very low because of the many earthquakes, and their old systems, they have a maximum height of 4 meters. 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. So I think that concludes the rapid fire debate today. Wim, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
As always, very interesting to see where Exotec's doing and where you're at. And you can find Wim on the floor. They've got a stand sort of down the back there. Drop past, get a look at it, and speak to the team. And hopefully everyone gets robotics into their warehouses in the next 12 months.
I also hope it. Thank you very much for your attention.